Well, happy holidays to all. Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, etc. to all. If you are celebrating those holidays, I do wish you the very best. It's kind of been a little bit of a while since I made my last video, which is directed to a certain good friend of mine who has been very cool to me and all. But anyways, getting on along past, this is just going to be my Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah video. I know maybe Happy Hanukkah was a few weeks or a few days before the event of Christmas. But anyways, just in general, happy holidays to a lot of people. I feel kind of low for some reason, but anyways, how you guys doing? You know, it's been good, it's been great. Just wanted to keep you guys updated. As the Random Gangster, I will try to see if I can get that video that you had me tagged in, so I'm still working on that sort of stuff. So a couple of things I just wanted to go before we just kind of announce what's going on here a little bit. As a matter of fact, let me just get started on one little quick thing. But first, let's do a transition just for the fuck of it. Now, I'm not sure if any of you know this, but back then when I made my videos, or technically the last video I've made, apart from all the others that I have made so far, with the exception of one camera that I had before, but that one never worked very well often, and I threw that out. Then eventually later, I began growing my channel. After when I threw away that other camera, when I got my iPod Touch for that Christmas, I had the other one accidentally fried electronically because it was thrown in the washer by accident, so I ended up getting this one. So this is what I've been making my videos on, and yes, go ahead, get your laughs out of it. That is completely fine with me, but I got myself an iPad mini for Christmas. Get your laughs on, go ahead, tell me iPad sucks, who fucking gives a shit, okay? Most likely for 3 different reasons, or technically 4 reasons that I got this sort of thing. Was one, that I needed more storage for things that I wanted to do. I had projects. The iMovie especially is what I had this saved up for. So along with storage and iMovie, I figured this also gives me a chance to store my transition effects or the things that I wanted to do. I think this is where I'm going to be shooting what my movie is going to look like, but with movie projects and all that sort of stuff, it's going to be a lot different. I've already got a whole lot of stuff planned out that I've never finished. And as a matter of fact, I wanted to show you what I've told you about and I never finished up. But as a matter of fact, before I do that, I wanted to also explain something that I'm also making as well. And for the first time, though, I'm nearly finished with completing the whole entire synopsis of something that I've generally based off as a fan-fictional story off of a real inspirational anime movie. Well, technically it's a series, not a movie. There is a movie though, but there is an anime that I've based my sort of stories on. So I'm going to show you that here in just a few seconds. For starters, I made my videos before over the projects that I were making over the stories. Well, for an example, these 2 binders that I'm holding up right here are the representations of the DC stories that I was making. Now, for some reason, it's been a continuously long while since I've continued off from where I left off within both of these binders. However, though, with this one right here, this one technically has a complete story. However, though, I'm adding some additional features. Now, before anyone jumps on my fucking case about being obsessed with a certain fucking user who kind of refers, well, to many people's minds as an onion motherfucker, technically the story was dedicated to him. Dishonorably, that is, because I just think he's a fucking manipulative little fuck, but this video is not about him. Technically, my inspirations for people that I respect and also disrespect are also happen to be in here. A whole lot of people that I respect, like Queenie Martha, Robert Frost, many other YouTubers as well. I mean, though some of them are not directly based upon them, they have personalities that kind of define from them. And I'm talking about the people who are positive positively with my influence. Some Guy 827, Robert Frost, Queenie Martha, Must Destroy All, Undertaker, Freak 1127, and let's not forget Stoutmeister too. But the ones that are directly based from those are Queenie Martha, Robert Frost. Robert Frost happens to be one of those personalities, but that's in no way disrespect. That's one of the inspirations I got for a certain character who kind of has a little bit of a similarity. So Queenie Martha, Stoutmeister, Some Guy 827. So far, those are the only 3 that have the direct influence or the direct inspiration from those, so it's from them. So they are technically featured within this one. Now this one, I'm trying to connect both bridges. This one is talking about the character who I have named as Jin Ryu. Basically, connections that are based from other influences that are outside of the whole entire world of DC. I've given it from the personalities of Jin Kazama from Tekken 6, and then of course you have Ryu from Ryu or Ryu, wherever how you slice it, from Street Fighter. But being as which that the name is technically really kind of split for many other things, such as I decided to put my name out there, but it's like it's not going to work. It wasn't going to work that way, so I figured why not put that together. Now, of course, the identity of that one has the matching name of mine, but I figured just why not? I couldn't name them anything else. I decided, you know what, I'll just take an aspect of my name and put it in there. So that's one of the things I wanted to do for that specific story. Now, I guarantee you I will get back into this, but I haven't gotten back into DC Universe, and I haven't got all the details in my mind. I still remember the characters. I still remember where the story kind of, is kind of stopped. But for now, I had a project that I was also working on. However, unfortunately, due to Rockstar's complete fuck-ups and all that other stuff, Grand Theft Auto Death Wish was another project that I had been working on. Unfortunately, due to Grand Theft Auto's fuck-ups, like I said, are still being so inconsistent and almost it's becoming out of control. But however, though, they have some updates which kind of got me going back into it. But I figured, you know what, that one's going to wait because I've been making more progress on this one, and it doesn't have a label yet. I've been making more progress on this one than I have with any other project that I have done. Technically tied, though, with the DC Universe story that I'm making. But unlike the DC Universe story, I have pictures of the character that I have made in the first synopsis of the story. I've completed the second synopsis as well, and I'm currently working on the third. So, real quick, I'm just going to transition to explain the rest for me. Now, the story that I'm making is branched off of one of the anime TV series called Sword Art Online, which happens to be one of my new favorite animes now. Of course, a lot of people are bitching and complaining because two certain characters within that, they don't seem to be showing that whole romance between each other ever since the Sword Art Online 2 came out. Well, that's not really the case of why I loved it so much. It became something more fascinating because it wasn't like the animes that I watched before. I mean, Gundam Wing was one that I used to watch back then. DBZ was another good one. A lot of screaming though, but it doesn't really matter. It was still a fucking good one anyway. But as opposed to some of these, because I'm not really much of an anime manga guy. I mean, I am to the extent that I gotta stop saying the word actually, but to the extent that I wanted to make the stories that keep popping into my mind, the ideas that float in me, I wanted to bring them to life. And sure enough, I created one. I decided after all these years to try one more time to draw, and surprisingly enough, I was able to draw something that I thought I would never draw. Now, it was difficult, and I'm not pretty sure I'm going to be able to do a perfect job with it, but fuck it. But anyways, I'm getting a little off. Now, with this story here, I have the character and the first part of the story. Now, I will explain here a little bit of what I'm going for. So, one of the characters that I've made, let me just show you real quick. Thanks to the game that I got on the PlayStation Vita, which is Sword Art Online, the Hollow Fragment one, I was able to create my own character and then post it right here. So you see a picture of the character. I've got the biography set for it. I've got technically the first story of it set, which technically has a little bit of some arcs in it, but the arcs don't really sound really much, so but chances are before I even get any of the stuff established and probably sent to like a fanfiction site or maybe submitted just for maybe even the artists to see themselves. I mean, who knows? You gotta give it a try somehow. Two things, though, that I just need to point out as an important note about this project. Number one, I understand that the revising and editing is going to have to be used because I know there's some things that might not make sense to it to some other people, and of course criticism is going to come, and that's what I really kind of need is criticism to help make it better, so I can help create an understanding of the story.
Hell, even Sword Art Online had its own criticisms. I mean, people who watched it had their own criticisms about it, that some things probably didn't make sense between in the stories of the scenes, how the relationships were, how things kind of grew by a little bit too fast, but still they enjoyed it. But that's one of the things that I wanted to do to help make the story much better, make much sense, so that sort of thing. But I also written down, this is the only part though, the subnote of note number 1 is that after the story it's explaining the personality, the relationships between the characters, which I do have them. The next video I will discuss about the certain characters that he has the relationships with. But other than that, I have the other stories that I will get done with, so I will have that submitted after the personality or the additional notes afterwards. But other than that, my next note is that... Ooh, I forgot to put one in there. But other than that, my next note is that... crap, I forgot. Let me just try to reassess my mind while I try to get this in. Okay, so I have the first, second, and I'm currently working on the third one. So the ones that I wanted to do, like I said, they're going to need some revising and some re-editing. And the second note is that I'm going to need some artwork for this stuff, because I mean, as far as I got with the images, it's a whole lot better than the progress that I've been making with DC Universe and the Grand Theft Auto story. But with this one, I can still go farther, because I only planned for a few things to go along with in this story. So for example, the arcs, I know that's part of the note number 2 that need to be changed. Yeah, so those things have to be changed a little bit, so I'm really considering some revising and some re-editing on that point. So basically, the main character's name is Jariowen, which another aspect which I threw in my name there because I couldn't find any other character to call him. This is what I wanted to talk about. The stories that I've made, the first one is called Shadowblade, which is the first part of the story, and also what I forgot to mention is that it branches off a little bit of Sword Art Online, so it's going a little bit to the realistic world than it is really the virtual reality, but the virtual reality world still kind of exists within that storyline. But anyways, this character has a status of a determinant, whether he's alive or dead. Here's how I explain it. After I finish up the third one, which is Time Divided, which is prequeled. Well, the prequel to that one is Falling Vengeance. That's the second one I have already completed. Time Divided is technically the division of timelines that I have set for this character. One part of the timeline which has 2 stories to that, which is called Knight's Angel, and then Final Inferno. That's the timeline when that character is alive. Now, there's one part within the other timeline after Time Divided, which is called Newborn Rebellion, which is going to be another aspect of the final story, but that's an alternate timeline in which that character is deceased. And also a little side note that the character was formerly an anti-hero at the very beginning, but it becomes a full protagonist. So yeah, that's just the sort of thing that I have going for me with that sort of project. I do have a little bit that I do want to explain, or maybe I can explain it a little bit further, so I'll see what else that I can also add in. Now with this character, with the relationships that I have established with this character, one thing I wanted to point out real quick, that the avatar name that he usually has within the virtual world is Joanetsu Kido, I can't even say this right, Kido Eraku. Kido Eraku. Joanetsu Kido Eraku. I think that's how you say it. So I decided to give him that name for that sort of reason, but not to spoil it off. But he doesn't really go with that name very often anymore. But so I'm not going to read anything off of here, but I'm going to establish the relationships between that sort of character that I have in the pictures as well. Now, not all of them are going to be in there, but I do have new sets of characters also being within the story. Let me cover the TV up because I don't want people giving me some copyright issues. Anyway. So, obviously, the characters that I have established within that relationships, obviously, we have, at the very bottom, our main character from the Sword Art Online series, Kirito, or Kazuto Kirigaya, Same thing with Asuna as well. I have her and Yui, but the thing is with Asuna and Kirito is that these two characters establish a spiritual sibling-like relationship with this main character. So it kind of starts off with I can't, like I said, I don't want to spoil it, but with a certain type of event goes on between. This is when they both, like all three, well, technically the two encounter that sort of person, but that's what also involves the next character in the relationship, known as one of the most adored ones within that one as Yui. Yui, because technically this sets place inside of another virtual world against the main character's will. That's about as far as I'm going to go with that detail, but there is one thing I did want to also bring into that one as well, because a certain antagonist makes a returning in that point. But the next character that I wanted to also introduce, I'll reveal this here in just a minute, but this one is Omayari. She plays kind of a key role within the stories. I'm not going to explain the part of what part she plays and what kind of goes on within the future, but that's one of the things I wanted to do, so I'll save that for when I come to read the stuff. Obviously, we all hate this sort of antagonist, but I figured why not make him return, because this character right here, if you remember, is Sugo. Yes, Sugo, holy shit, I hated the fuck out of this one, but I figured this would be a good opportunity to put him in a very dark role for this, because the relationship between this character, I forgot to mention Omayari. Omayari happens to be one of the love interests of Jarito, or Jonetsu, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Sugo is technically the uncle, or he's technically the blood uncle of the main character, which the main character, I'm going to also say this, despises. Technically, that's kind of the whole kind of part within the story. Of course, we also have Klein. Klein being one of the goofballs of the Sword Art Online. He also establishes a good relationship with that. We also have Kikoya Sehiro. Now this one is a little bit, because I wasn't aware of Project Alicization, which I'm not sure how they're going to put that. I don't know if, and then I'm only, from what I've read, I'm not sure if Kikoya might be an antagonist later on, so I'm not exactly sure, because within Project Alicization, it's confirmed that he kidnaps Kirito he's trying to help him with some sort of a coma set type of thing, because he's trapped in another world, but it's really deep. Oddly enough, it's technically like one day, but within the very unconscious mind of Kirito, it's like 5 years have gone by. But yeah, Kikoya plays a role within that one, which in the first one, but he doesn't really make any other appearances within the next couple, or within any of them at all, except for that one part. But then we also have the antagonists, which I know for sure, which is Shinigome, who happens to be one of the leading causes for the main character to seek vengeance upon him. And Sugo is also one of those reasons, well, because with this character in relation, that Sugo is also one of the leading reasons for the character's misfortune, as he hires this main antagonist of Shinigome, who happens to also be the main antagonist of Falling Vengeance. He hires this person to kill his family. But there's a lot more about Shinigome than just that, and trust me, I put that in Falling Vengeance. And then another antagonist that I have, which I've called Ryugetsu Gekido, who happens to be a vicious warlord, who happens to have or enslaved the main character during his youth when he was an orphan, and that he was abducted by pirates on an onboard ship and forced to be a child soldier, which he was forced to burn down a village. That's how he kind of meets Omayari in one of the villages. Now, I do have more villains technically set up as well, so I'll have to put those in, but we have the unnamed father, the unnamed mother, and then technically the brother of Jaryo, which I don't have pictures of them yet, but I do have Asado Shino, who happens to be Sinin from the Gun Gale Online, which is the Sword Art Online 2, who happens to be the next love interest of Jaryo. So I'm not going to explain what happens to Omayari just yet, because technically that was already on there. And then I have the trivia, and then I have some artwork, but I'm not going to reveal that just yet, because it kind of does give spoilers for what I'm kind of going for. So that's technically the project that I'm working on, and I've made, as far as I'm concerned, 60% more progress than I have with any other of the fucking projects that I've made. So that's technically the project of Sword Art Online, which is I'm trying to give it an entire series name of it. So I'm trying to figure out something. I'm trying to give this a meaning for it. So that's what I'm working with here. So thank you for the time for watching or listening or doing what you wanted to do. Watch to the video, whatever. I don't know. I just lost concentration in my brain. Oh well. So that's the ending for me. You guys have a very wonderful day, and I will catch you guys later.